I know all of you coffee caterers out there, you have an incredible menu. Your cart is gorgeous. Your service is incredible, and nobody can find you. And until you get this stuff right, until you can be found, then no one's gonna know how awesome you are. I know we feel like we're special and like we're this unique service, and we are, but we also all exist under the umbrella of people browsing the internet. And that's a very tough category to be in. But the good news is there's a lot of like very well-known rules for how to build your website for people browsing the internet. When you start to get this stuff right, you'll see your coffee catering business transform.
Now here's a guy.
No, for real. Now here's a guy, Justin from Goodhart Coffee and Flash Quotes, who has 33 coffee carts.
44, but close.
Right back.
Now here's a guy, Justin from and your last name's Goodhart.
Yeah.
From Goodhart Coffee and Flash Quotes, who has 44 coffee carts.
Yep.
And did 3,000 events in 2024.
3,063 to be exact.
Gosh, what an awesome time talking through how you built Goodhart, how Flash Quotes has played into your journey, and how you're extending that to the whole industry of coffee catering. This one phrase was burning in my heart this whole time, which is if you're starting a coffee catering company, or if you just have a coffee company in general and are wanting to improve your catering side like us, if you listen to this man's words that we just talked about in this podcast, I'm confident that not only is it going to blow up your business, but I think it's going to change the course of the catering industry forever.
That's generous.
No, for real though, because I can say that at least for me and the people that I've talked to, because like we just didn't think of this stuff.
Nope.
We were focusing on the wrong things. We had a great product. Our service was good. The coffee was awesome. The cart looked really cool, but we were missing all of these really important, high impact topics that we should have been focusing on. We were focusing on the wrong things.
Yep.
I mean, this guy's not going to do the work for you, but I think like you still have to go out there and do it. This podcast was really revelatory for us, and I hope it's the same for you. So be sure to listen all the way to the end. Hit like, subscribe to the channel. We're grateful you're here. Let's get into it. Well, Justin from Goodhart / Flash Quotes, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I have been listening to this podcast for so long, and have definitely listened to every single coffee cart episode you all have ever done. And really just, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and for all the resources that you've given to the coffee cart community, because I've benefited from those going back many years. So thank you for having me. Thank you for all that you do for the coffee cart community.
Yes. We just kind of share our experience.
Yeah.
Which was pretty limited in the beginning, but like that's something we share in common is we got started around the same time in like 2016.
Yep.
Like you were saying, in the intro, we talked about what Goodhart is and kind of why you're on the program. But could you just start with the origin story of Goodhart? Like, looking back to your first thought about it, to like your first event, what was your first action with that?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I started in 2017. I think we're kind of almost like what I consider almost the second wave of coffee carts. We've got the first wave way back there in like the 90s. Some OGs out there been doing it
coffee
a long
carts
time.
In the 90s.
Oh yeah. There's a handful that've been around doing their thing, crushing since like the 90s. We're kind of the second wave. So we started in 2017. It's a very familiar coffee catering story, I'd say, where thought I wanted to do a shop, couldn't afford it. Okay, I'm going to build my first cart. I was inspired initially by June from Welcome Coffee Cart in Santa Barbara. Are you familiar with June?
Nope.
Her sister came into Sweet Bloom, the cafe I worked at, and we got to talking, and I basically learned what a coffee cart was and took a lot of inspiration from that. And was like, all right, I'm going to build my first cart. So learned to weld. I grew up doing construction with my dad, so pretty handy. Learned to weld, built the cart. Almost everybody builds their first cart way too big, which I also did. Too big, too heavy,
Same.
too hard to transport. So didn't know how I was going to get it around. Looked over at my 1999 Toyota Camry. At that point, almost 20 years old. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to put a towing hitch on this
Of course.
and make it happen. So
Nice.
So put a towing hitch on my 99 Camry, get a small little 6-foot trailer, build some sketchy like ramps for it, and in we went, ratchet strapped it, and we were off to our first farmers market. So that's kind of how we got going first. Actually, I was very lucky to get into that first farmers market, but it was really later that year in 2017 when we did a big solar eclipse event in a field in Idaho. That really kind of changed the trajectory of Goodhart Coffee. So.
Whoa.
How did that change the trajectory of Goodhart?
I'm so glad you asked.
Was the eclipse just that like internally revelatory?
No. It was up to that point. I was just vending, working farmers markets. Maybe you all had some of these too. I know a lot of coffee caterers have like they're trying to get their legs under them, and they're just saying yes to absolutely everything. And they're going out and, farmers markets are great. I had, done one too many of those events where you go to some event someone invited you to, doesn't want to pay for you to be there like a caterer. And so you go and stand there for like 4 to 6 hours and make like $50. And you're just like, this is not it. This is not it.
The vending.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I was cold calling. I was calling every food caterer in Denver, basically, and being like, hey, do you all ever subcontract out like a coffee cart, espresso services? And all of them were like, I don't know, not really. We'll save your info. Thanks. Bye. Click.
Yeah.
And that kept happening with everyone. And same with this one woman, Brittany. And except Brittany emailed me the next day and says, wait, actually, like, this is crazy, but like we've got this big event. It's 5 days in a field in Idaho. It's for the solar eclipse, that full solar eclipse that we had in 2017. And it was for Virgin Galactic. It was like they were taking all of their like future astronauts. They had determined like this was like the best place in the US for like optimal chance of great viewing, like the most like time of totality, like where it's blocked out the sun for the longest amount of time. So she's like, we need coffee. Like, can you come and set up basically a full mobile coffee shop outside of Driggs, Idaho? And I was like, I think I can do that. Like, I'm pretty handy. I think I can do that. And so she was so gracious. She really helped me. She like kind of quoted out. It was like, make sure you include this, like make sure everything's covered. So I put together this quote. It was like $12,000. And it just blew my mind. Like, someone's going to pay me $12,000 to drive to Idaho and set up a coffee shop in a field. This is crazy. Like, so we went and it went amazing. I was not going to let it go poorly, right? I made sure it went really well. I did everything I could, and it did. We made some really powerful industry contacts, which kind of feeds into Goodhart's story later about why we opened our second location in San Francisco. But that changed the course of things. I really realized at that point that, okay, there's something to this. Like maybe I don't want to open a coffee shop. There's really something here with catering, and I think I'm good at it, and I really enjoy it, and there's some money here. Like, now, like, instead of the farmer's market coffee shop path, I think at that point is really when I decided, like, okay, I'm all in on catering. Like, let's go. So,
yeah, that was one of our main questions early on is catering through a coffee cart a viable business? And I think we continued to have that question like really until talking to you.
Okay. Interesting.
That coffee's kind of crazy, right?
It is. It's delicious and very wild. Very wild.
You have to say what it is now because you mentioned the coffee.
Oh, Ethan brewed it. I don't know what it is.
It's a papaya co-fermentation. I don't know I don't know who it's from. I don't know who roasted it, but he said it was like a co-ferment.
Cool.
Papaya co-ferment.
All right.
But yeah, talking to you really opened the door to like, okay, there is someone that is crushing it through catering. And we have what feels like all of the necessary ingredients that one would need to also make that happen.
You do.
Thank you.
You do.
It's reassuring to still hear that. Which is part of the reason you're here. So you did that big event. So when they said set up a mobile coffee shop, like how literal is that?
In this case, very literal. We had multiple brewers. We had our EK. We had the espresso bar. It was full with cold brew. It was literally like in this case, a full-on mobile coffee shop. It was like 300 people we were serving for 5 days. It was a lot of coffee. Full shop.
And backing up a little bit, so when you're starting this business, Goodhart, you're starting off with the intention of opening a coffee shop one day,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And so you're thinking like, let's go farmers market, let's go local.
Yep.
I think that's where a lot of people start.
Yep.
At least that I've talked to, and that's exactly where we started. And we took, you and I, like we took different paths. Like you went towards catering. We started off with the intention of opening a coffee shop one day, and like we did some like kind of BS vending stuff that was like quote unquote a waste of time, but in hindsight, I'm glad we did it. Some catering, and then we got a pop-up, like a daily pop-up in a co-working space with our cart.
Okay.
So we prioritized that pop-up over the catering, and then that did lead to a coffee shop. So it's cool to hear someone who took a different path. As you're starting that business, you mentioned you were handy. Like what are some of these other skills or traits or characteristics you felt you personally had when you were walking into this business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I came from, before I was in coffee, I was actually in the fitness world, and I
can tell.
This dude's jaw.
I saw your biceps. That biceps as soon as you walked in.
No, I'm like more on the dad bod path these days, but I put on like probably 30 pounds plus in the last couple of years because I've been at the computer working on Goodhart stuff. But I come from fitness, and I was actually running a fitness podcast. I was training people fully remote. I had to have a great website, and I was like video coaching people in like 2016 pre-COVID. That gave me a lot of the I think comfort with like building a good website, kind of somewhat of like Google SEO, digital marketing stuff, gave me some of my own business experience. And then, I think that was huge, but also kind of sales experience. Like if we're being honest, like coffee catering, to really do it well, you have to have some skill, or you have to develop some skill at sales. And and we see that, I'd say, with people who come from a sales background. It feels like they get up to speed a lot quicker. And people who resist admitting that there's an important piece of coffee catering that is just pretty normal sales stuff, it probably will take them a little bit longer to be successful. And when I say sales stuff, it's just good follow-up, right? Like responsive communication, really trying to like serve the customer and put the customer first, and being available to communicate with them. Not like, we're not talking like pushy, aggressive, like sales, but like just responsiveness and availability, and a warmth and ability to build rapport. So that sales stuff, building that up through kind of my fitness and just like behind the bar barista stuff. I did that for many years. And so, those are some of the skills I think I had. And of course, I've leveled them up over the years just as I got deeper and deeper. But operations, sales, and good barista skills, I kind of had all of those in like a baby way, and then just continued to develop all of those. And that's really kind of how we divide up Goodhart Coffee now. We've got, event planner, sales, we've got the operations, and then we've got like the facilities warehouse manager, and that all used to be me. And so, I'd say those are the three things that I brought to it when I first started.
I would say that makes it abundantly obvious why you've been successful, because I just instantly think about where so many people who get into this business, especially if we're talking about coffee cart, like what is typically the lower barrier of entry as far as cost goes. It's like their prior experience a lot of times was, I'm a barista. Yeah. And that was us for sure. That's all we had. And I think it's a miracle that we somehow still have a business because we were almost so sales, marketing, etc. adverse. Yeah. Just for no reason other than because we thought that saying like the term salesy was bad. But then you step back and you look at, you know, especially now further down the road where it took us years to step into wanting to grow any amount of serious sales or marketing skill. Yeah. We're like, oh, the reason that we can be competitive in wholesale sales with the roasting is because it seems like we're one of the only roasters who has a CRM and like actually like
CRM,
manages.
We got to talk about that.
Yeah. And actually like follows up and cares about the people that we work with. Yeah. So I don't know. I think so much of every, you know, success in any field is just like having a system. Yeah. And that's why we have enjoyed flash quotes, which we'll get to.
What's that?
Oops.
We'll get to that. Yeah. That's such a great point. You know, when I first started, and for so long too, I was like, ooh, sales is icky. It's gross. Like I'm like a barista. Like I am I want to be the best barista. Like people are when I first launched my cart, I was like, we're using Sweet Bloom coffee beans. Like, duh, everyone's going to choose us because we're like using Sweet Bloom and like we have these delicious syrups. Like that's enough. Everyone's going to obviously choose us. That's unfortunately not the case. Now, I love that. And I think I love the craft of coffee. And that's kind of what put me down the coffee cart path. And you should love the craft. But when it comes to like really growing your business, it's almost like the craft is required. It's necessary, but not sufficient. You have to have that, but it's also not enough to really grow a successful catering business in my experience. So
true. So after this Idaho event, you decided like, all right, catering is what I'm going to focus on. What were your next steps there?
Next steps were get a warehouse. Like I was starting to feel around that time. So we had the event in 2017. Well, actually I should say also, if you've never seen a full solar eclipse, please do that. It's like the craziest thing. And it makes me realize like, oh, when like people way back in history were experiencing a solar eclipse, like no wonder they thought the world was ending. It is wild. Have either of you seen full solar eclipses?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
You did?
Yeah. I went out to Charleston during that one.
You did? Okay.
And it was in the path. You guys went to...
We went to Greenville,
and it was like a 95 or something.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be 100%. It's crazy to have something fully block out the sun is just so profoundly cool and eerie and disturbing. And you're just like, oh, I'm this tiny being on this massive planet. Anyway, sorry, we won't get too
So it sounds like it really did put some stuff into perspective with catering. Right?
Yeah. I was having these epiphanies. No, I think it was like that moment where I realized this is something amazing, but I didn't know how to take advantage of it, right? I was like, okay, I need to prioritize catering, like fully contracted catering events, but I didn't know how to get them and keep like a steady flow of these events coming. So we kind of kept on doing farmers markets for years, and you know, we grew really slowly. Like I remember I eventually added my second machine and then my third machine, but everything was happening very, very slowly. It really wasn't until 2020 where I met now like a really good friend and business mentor, Paul. I met Paul in, I think, about, five years ago. So maybe it was 2019, 2020. I was going up to ski, and there was this huge storm that was expected. Massive, massive storm, going to dump just tons of powder at Copper Mountain, which is about an hour and 15 minutes outside of Denver. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a hotel. I'm going to stay there, and then I'm going to get, I don't have to drive the morning up. I'm going to have this sick powder day, and it's going to be awesome. And so I go, and I start having this amazing powder day, and then I'm realizing the snow's continuing to come down. Like, I am not going to be able to make it home, and hotels are like $500 a night. Like, I have to find someone whose couch I can crash on, because I can't drive back. I can't afford a hotel, and so I decide, okay, I'm gonna like start chatting with every single person I sit on a chairlift with. I have to find a couch to crash, and Paul was the first person I rode up with after I kind of made that decision in my mind.
Wow.
We talked on the chairlift up. He's now, I know, one of the most extroverted people I've ever met. So we talked on the chairlift up, talked business, skied together on the way down, and just rinse and repeat all day. The most epic powder day I've ever had. And then, met Paul, crashed on his couch, and come to find out he's like this super, very, very successful businessman, owned and sold multiple businesses, like, taught business at Rice University in Texas. And I just happened to meet him on a chairlift, wow. And we kind of took a liking to each other. Meeting him was also a huge transition point for Goodhart. I think he saw something in the business, or saw something in me. We took a liking to each other. And so he started to give me a lot of like strategic and tactical advice. And I think, though, the most important thing was just that he believed in me. Like, he had seen so many students in his business classes, hundreds. And out of every 100 students, maybe one or two would actually start a business. And so he was just like, Justin, like, you're doing something really amazing here. It's a small, but you have a profitable business. Like, I can't tell you how amazing and rare that is. And like, here's what you should, here's what I recommend. Here's some strategies. Here's some tactics. Here's what you should, do and avoid. And kind of him giving me that gift of belief in myself is when I started to believe it. That's when we kind of had this rocket growth curve from like 143 events in 2020 to like 456 in 2021. 2022 was like 943, 2023 like 1,688, and then in 2024 we just wrapped up 3,063 events in 2024, and I think we're probably on track for like 40% growth on top of that in 2025. So meeting Paul and kind of getting that business mentor and someone who believed in me when I started to believe, it was just this like whole new level. So
wow. When you started to believe that, what are some of the main things that changed about a typical week in the life?
I think one of the things that changed was, okay, if I believe this and I think I can grow, I need to start evaluating all my systems and behaviors through this lens of like, either me personally or someone on my team is going to be performing this action hundreds to thousands of times over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. So that's when I started to look at all my systems differently and just run through everything with a fine-tooth comb of like, okay, what transport boxes do I use? Like, how does the equipment get transported from the car to the venue, inside the venue? How many trips does that take? What are the dimensions of a cart? Like, how wide is the average commercial door so that I can make sure it fits through? Like, what is our workflow when we're setting up? Like, where do we put all our equipment? All of these like really, really seemingly mundane things, suddenly I was looking at through the lens of like, we're going to be doing this hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of times potentially. I need to make sure that it's really, really robust and works well for a wide variety of people and environments. I think that was a big one of how my day-to-day changed.
Getting out of survival mode and thinking more of like, how do we move forward and include more people?
Yeah.
Make this employee-friendly operation. Yeah.
Absolutely. And not only that, now you all know this too, is that coffee catering can be really tough because the Venn diagram, right? Maybe you all have seen a Venn diagram is like when there's multiple circles that overlap, and like whatever is inside the overlapping circles is those combined qualities, right? And the Venn diagram of baristas who can lift an espresso machine are great baristas. Let's not even get into like trailers, like backing up trailers in the coffee catering world, like the Venn diagram of great baristas who are strong, who like, who can back up trailers and navigate, all these professional environments is very, very small, and also can do plumbing and like know about electrical circuits. Like, so you have to like build, I was thinking like, I have to build these really strong systems. All of our stuff is like color coded, labeled, inventoried, organized. And when we started to do that, it allowed us to have the robustness we need. Like, cause at a certain point, we were making tons of mistakes. Like, our growth was feeding into our downfall, right? Like, because just forgotten items, like the stories of personal failure of teams forgetting things, disappointing major international brands, complete failures of service, and like there was a lot of painful but very insightful lessons along the way.
Forgetting the tamper.
Yes.
That one happened to us one time. Thankfully, we were close to our cafe.
Okay.
So we were able to go snag an extra one. Tell me about disappointing major national brands. The juicy deets, if you remember that story.
Yeah. So this particular one, I'll tell a few stories of failure and disappointment. But this particular one was in San Francisco. So we had taken the leap. We had opened up in San Francisco, our second catering headquarters. I think it was for Ferrari, and it was a 2-day event for Ferrari. The first day, I don't remember what happened, if it was traffic, but like the barista was late. So there was already like okay, we're already underperforming here. The second day, the barista like hit a paint can on the interstate driving there, and like completely got a flat tire, like ruined their rim, and like could not go to the event. And I'm like calling and texting every single barista on our team, like, can anyone go, please? Like, I'm in Colorado, I can't step in and serve this event. And so there was no one. We couldn't go, and we failed to serve Ferrari, like one of the brands that I was like just like dying, the brand that like every coffee caterer would be like so happy to work with, and I'm like disappointing them. I'm just like, oh gosh, like the pit in my stomach was just
the downside of rocking one barista.
Yeah. Yep.
If they don't show up, where's your backup? Absolutely.
Yep.
Going back a little bit here, so you were talking about when you met Paul, and that gave you a lot of belief in yourself and like unlocked a lot of clarity for you. And you mentioned getting your name out to more people to book these contracted catering events. Mm-hmm. How did you go about that?
I had to learn about, honestly, like SEO. I had to learn, like, I realized that most people were finding me on Google for coffee caterers, and my personal opinion is that for coffee catering, Instagram is primarily for vanity. Google is for sanity. Like people find me and find us on Google, and like please don't go look at the Goodhart Coffee Instagram. It's not good. Oh no, he's got it up.
I was pulling up because I wanted to steer us here, which is funny because I was gonna bring up just, it seems like you smartly, talking about systems, you were like, I'm going to take a look at what's working and what actually drives sales and what doesn't. And to your point, it's like Instagram is not what's going to drive sales for us as coffee caterers. And it looks like the last time you posted was April 4th, 2024.
Hey, we're going to get better.
Which, I'm saying
it's not going to drive sales. It's just going to make us feel better.
I'm saying props to you for, thinking about how many, it seems like you put 0 hours into Instagram.
Slightly above zero.
In the past year. But how many hours have you put into keyword research and dialing in your SEO?
A lot.
And you said that you experienced 40% growth. So I just wanted to say that so many people starting a business are like, I've got to have that social media presence. I've got to do this, and this on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and whatever. But in reality, who's going? I know people are using social media search engines a little bit more year over year.
Yeah.
But realistically, everyone's going to Google and typing in
Yes.
coffee caterer near me or
Yes.
espresso cart near me.
Yes. And thank you for bringing that. This is actually where I spend so much of my time thinking about like digital marketing, Google, SEO, conversion rate optimization, CRO, like what happens when someone goes to your website. Because Google's so important, what happens when people go to your website? And I haven't even met the guy yet. I think I'm going to meet him after this. Kent from Localize.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to bring him up. I know he's a sponsor of the show, but like he just finished building y'all's website, and I was really like, I'm not just saying this, I was very, very impressed. A lot of great designers and website builders are not so good at doing stuff that's like technically sound with SEO and technically sound for service business specifically, right? And I was very, very impressed. And so shout out to you, Kent, who I'll meet soon, I think.
Great guy. You'll see.
And yeah, so I spend so much time thinking about that. I spend a ton of time thinking about, like, one thing that I really believe, it's some of my, my hot takes about coffee catering, right? Which is like, Instagram is not nearly as valuable as Google. Kind of this cold truth that like all coffee cart companies exist. Like, I know we feel like we're special and like we're this unique service, and we are, but we also all exist under the umbrella of people browsing the internet just broadly. And that's a very tough category to be in. But the good news is there's a lot of like very well-known rules for how to build your website for people browsing the internet. And, some of the biggest ones are just like above the fold. Above the fold is what people see when they go to your website before they scroll at all. It's the most important part of your website. Kent knows this, and you all know this. Your new website looks great. It's the most important part of your website for a coffee caterer. And if you don't, you have about 3 seconds to grab someone's attention. And if you don't have like a great photo of a friendly smiling face, and you don't have social proof, and people don't immediately know what you do and where you are, they're going somewhere else, right? In some ways, like if we're operating under the umbrella of people browsing the internet, well, we're competing with people's attention for TikTok and Instagram, whatever. So that like above the fold section, I spend so much time thinking about it, so much time kind of optimizing Goodhart's, both on mobile and desktop. And I know like some coffee caterers, hopefully y'all's eyes didn't glaze over too much when I brought this up, but like it's really those things that start to move the needle. When you start to get this stuff right, you'll see your coffee catering business transform. I know you all, when you built your new website and embedded the new flash quotes form, you told me, I think last week, your leads like quadrupled. Now we've still got to talk about booking percentage, conversion rate, but it's very, very powerful stuff, and stuff that I spend a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah. I was going to bring that up. Proof of concept with, dialing in the SEO, getting that flash quotes embed form, and those things. I mean, like we just booked our biggest event ever, like a couple days ago.
I wish I have this like DJ hype button that's like, yeah. Shout out to Michael from Creature Coffee. He's the one that inspired me on that. I should have brought you guys one.
Well, I bet Grayson could put in some horns right here.
Okay.
Just like that.
That's good. I think this is just so valuable, in particular for people starting coffee carts, because a lot of people that start coffee carts aren't able to put 60 hours a week into starting that business.
Yeah.
Like you would do when you're starting a business.
Yep.
They're doing it on the side. Like they've got a 40-hour a week job, or they're trying to grow something while they're putting their hands to something else, or being a mom, or like whatever it is. I talk to these people with wholesale. So you need to, when you're in that position, you need to know what are the most high impact focuses I can have. So like, instead of trying to grow your Instagram, like grow SEO.
Yep.
Or like that's been trying to tell y'all about localizegrowth.com/valor. Because that's even better if you're just paying Kent and Zane over at Localize to help you with this, with your SEO. Because that's just even less time that you're putting towards like the most important thing.
Yeah.
Besides like your product, and of course that has to be great, and you have to be a great hospitable person when you're at the event. But as far as like growing your business, and they started a new promotion offer where they're offering free backlink, which is usually like $200-300 they would charge for that. What do you think about backlinks, Justin? Is that something that you think about?
Well, yes, it is. It is. And there's a lot that goes into SEO, but honestly, like, I think getting your web design right and getting your kind of above the fold and getting your SEO, like, these things are super important. And the reason they are is because, like, I know all of you coffee caterers out there, like, you have an incredible menu. Your cart is gorgeous. Like, your service is incredible. And like, but nobody can find you. And until you get this stuff right, until you can be found, then no one's going to know how awesome you are. And so I think that's the reason, like, I really, really, really hate to see these amazing coffee caterers of very passionate baristas and coffee professionals who are doing something amazing, and they're around for like less than a year or 2 years because no one can ever find them. And so the world can't know like how awesome you are. And so that's like, that to me is the purpose of like SEO, of Localize. Like, and that's, I think, what we want to start empowering coffee caterers, to be, to help them get found, to help them follow like the best practices. We've learned a lot of challenging lessons in our, 7 years in business. I think a total of like 5,500 events. We've made so many mistakes, but we want to be able to kind of share those so that we can benefit the coffee catering community, because there's so many amazing people doing it with so many amazing carts and brands, but they're not getting found.
Right.
And so, what was the question again? Sorry.
They're just talking about what are the right things to focus on.
Yeah.
I think starting a coffee cart especially just in our experience, Riley and I, and Ethan, who's not here, it's such a good first business to start, because maybe this is just how every business is when you're starting a business, but it teaches you so many different things, different skills that you'll be able to use in other parts of your life. So back to Goodhart. You opened San Francisco was your second,
correct? Yeah,
headquarters that you opened. So, how many cities are you in now?
We're in 5.
And
5
what are
cities. We're in San Francisco, LA, Dallas, Houston, Denver.
And you have a headquarters in each of those.
Yep,
those cities.
Full on warehouse. Around most cities have 10 carts now, so we have 44 total carts. We're about to build 8 more, but yeah, around 10 carts, full warehouse. We feel that's very important for us to just operate efficiently and turn over events as quick as possible. So,
how big are your warehouses typically?
I like around 1,800 to 2,500 square feet is what we like. It's got to have, roll up door. Got to be in like a commercial area for us, like really, really important for the baristas coming and going. Yeah.
So, when we first talked, one of the things that really excited me, blew my mind, was talking about how you have the lines on the floor taped off.
Yes.
And how
I forgot I mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, you talked a lot about tape. Just kidding.
I'm a adhesives enthusiast.
Right.
No.
But you were talking about how this was very timely advice for me to hear when we were talking about it. How when a barista walks up to their station to get ready for the event that's coming up, if they grab everything in the square, then they are good to go.
Yes.
It's impossible to fail if the barista before them cleaned up, got everything back to its place, back to where it goes.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just think that's cool.
Like that was so in the coffee catering industry, most of you all probably already know this, but like it's not like some other catering industries where people are booking really far out, like maybe months out, at least in my experience. We see this routinely every single month. Like probably 50% of people book less than 30 days out. And then around 50 book more than 30 days out. And a bunch book within like a 1 to 3 week window. Huge percentage. So if you don't have your carts like ready to go, you can't accept those last minute events. You don't have the systems. Like I remember when I was first getting started, every event we booked, I'd be like, okay, well, after the last event, I just unloaded everything and kind of threw it in there. And so now I have to go like spend all this time getting it ready, prepping it. And so now everything is always flipped after every single event. We clean, we restock the cart. Everything is ready to go except the consumables. So it's coffee, dairy, syrups. You grab those, you go. Everything else is fully stocked, fully ready, in its place. We name all of our carts after, after like shows or movies. So like all of our Denver carts are named after Office characters. LA is all like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. We've got in the different places. But it's just a way to keep the organization straight. And it's really key because so many coffee catering events get booked kind of last minute. And if you don't do that, you're eventually going to make a mistake that is going to make you really sad, which I've done. One time, earlier on, I had an event and it was up in like Cheyenne which is like an hour and a half north of Denver. I was going to serve some nurses and I thought I had everything. I drive all the way up. I'm like 20, 30 minutes from the event and I panic and I look back. And my grinder is not there. And I'm like an hour away. And I had left it right inside my front door because I just kind of unloaded and threw it there. And just absolute rock in the stomach. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
What am I going to do? So I start calling coffee shops. I call every coffee shop I can, which is a weird request. Has anyone ever called you? I'm like, can I like rent a grinder? Like, you don't know me and I know grinders are expensive, but like, can I rent one? That's such a weird, if you were to get that call as a barista, you'd be like, is this a prank? Like, this is weird. Yeah. I called all the coffee shops. I'm like looking up, what grinders do like, okay, they only have like Walmart and Target. What grinders do they sell? I'm like panicking. And ultimately the best I could do was I go to Target, I get this like $40 grinder and I go and try to serve this event. And it was the absolute worst grinder. It took probably 30 seconds, 40 seconds to grind each shot. It was not an espresso grinder. Nope. It made this like high pitched, like squealing like a freaking jet engine. I had to put it underneath the cart so it wouldn't try to make it quieter. And I go through it like I think an hour and a half of serving maybe some of the worst espresso shots in world history, possibly. Yeah. But got through it. If you want to avoid doing that, make sure that all of your stuff is kind of like packed, ready, stocked, everything in place. Because that was embarrassing.
Yeah. So instances like that, and I guess especially growing to multi-city, did that happen first and then you came to the realization of I need a way to manage this better, and then Flash Quotes grew out of that?
Great question. Thank you. Flash Quotes. So the story of Flash Quotes and Goodhart is it was around 2022 actually. The Flash Quotes kind of begins with a banana costume, kind of. I mean, it's connected to a banana costume. In 2022, we were growing. We had done about 1,000 events that year, and our systems are starting to show cracks. We had this master spreadsheet, just color-coded, all these formulas, everything in there. It honestly was like, to me, a beautiful spreadsheet. Like it was my baby, kind of. And it was working well enough, but if someone got in there who didn't really know what they were doing and dragged the wrong cells to the wrong places, we break formulas, and then an event change happens and we have to change it in like the spreadsheet and this doc and that doc, and somebody changed it in 2 out of 3 places, but the barista's document didn't get changed. So the cracks are starting to show. We just like, this is not, more forgotten items, more late events, just operational issues. And so in October of 2022, I'm headed to a Halloween party in Nashville. I'm flying Frontier. I've got my costume. And this was around, maybe you all remember when, hopefully you don't remember. Hopefully you don't fly Frontier as much as I do. My wife loves Frontier to my, disappointment. But we were flying Frontier and we were cramming everything in our bags. And this was around when Frontier was like secretly incentivizing their gate agents to size every bag so they would earn a commission when they had made you pay $100. So,
whoa.
I am going to Nashville. I've got my banana costume in the bag. They make me size the bag. It doesn't fit. And we're like, oh man, like we're not each paying $100. I guess like we'll put the banana costumes on. So in the airport, I literally have a photo. Zach pulled it up, and so we both put our banana costumes on. Our bags fit. We get on the flight and we go to Nashville where we're having this, Halloween party. And Zach and Daniel are there. Zach and Daniel are the Flash Quotes co-founders. And I'm taking a walk with Zach, and I'm telling him of all of our spreadsheet problems, all of our operations and logistical problems. I'm like, man, and Zach and Daniel both actually some of the smartest guys I know. I'm truly just blessed to be on a team with them. But I'm telling Zach, man, we're having all these problems. I think I need a database. What is a database? Can you help me kind of understand and talk through maybe what sort of technological systems could help prevent these issues I'm having? And that really was the birth of Flash Quotes. It was okay, let's start working on something. Let's start building something that's going to actually serve your needs. And so we started working on it, and it was such a game changer. We've been working on Flash Quotes for 2 years, and Goodhart would absolutely not be where we are without Flash Quotes. Now we've been, it's basically been in a closed beta for 2 years, and we've just been working on it, and it's been battle tested. So right now what Flash Quotes can do is, it's got this conversion rate optimized lead intake form. You saw the lift in leads combined with localize. Conversion optimized lead intake form. There's most people have such bad lead intake forms that really actually kills their leads. We can maybe talk more about that, but it's got that, and then it's got you can build your quotes in seconds, send them out, then send them a booking form, and when they book, it kind of goes into this back end operational piece. So all your timelines are instantly calculated. These Barista documents are instantly generated with timelines, full shift durations, shift start and end, all of the checklists for each kind of checkpoint of the event. And it was such a game changer. Now we don't have to change things in 3 places. Now items are not getting forgotten. Now if any timeline changes are made, it instantly is telegraphing that to the baristas in the client confirmation page. And it's been really, really powerful for us, because honestly, the coffee catering community is massively underserved. There's no software that's really been built by us, for us. We all have had the experience of having to Frankenstein something together.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to build something that served Goodhart's needs and that serves the coffee catering community's needs. And so, yeah.
Yeah, what I love about Flash Quotes, it's in the same spirit of what we've been talking about this whole time, which is, one, if you're starting a coffee cart and you don't have a lot of time to give to it,
yep,
spend your time on the things that matter the most.
Yep.
And what I, before using Flash Quotes, would spend a lot of my time doing is calculating random stuff about the details of the event, communicating that to the right people, making sure, and so when you use flash quotes, just as an example, you can enter all of these custom values in of how long it takes for you to prep for the event.
Yeah.
How long, how much cushion time you want in your travel itinerary.
Yeah.
And what the customer is the one who enters in the address. And it's like, yes, you could Frankenstein all of that together. And we did.
Yep.
But like you did probably to an insane level, and it still produced cracks in the system. Like I'm sure that spreadsheet was fire. I'm sure it was awesome. And, but instead of like texting all of the details of the event to whoever's working the event or having it in your notes app in your phone, like, man, eventually it's going to come back to bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
Even if you are a super detail oriented person, which not everyone is. So that's part of why I love it, is it allows you to focus on the most high impact things.
Yeah.
And it's very team friendly, like back to that too, with what you learned with, talking with Paul.
Yeah.
How do I focus on this operation and this system being friendly to the person that's using the system?
Yeah.
And not having to work so hard to just pull off an event.
Yeah. Yeah. And, some people start to get, some coffee caterers are a little bit concerned about like, well, if this is just like some crazy automated system, it's going to like rob the soul of my brand and like hurt my, like we won't be able to have that, really great connection and relationship with our customers, which is so important and something we value so much. But, I actually believe, and what we see again with all the caterers who join us, is that bad logistics like hurt relationships. We're trying to really build something that's almost the catering equivalent of like Shopify, right? Which is like, imagine so many brands use Shopify. I think you all use Shopify.
Yes.
Imagine like trying to take everyone's credit card info over the phone and like manually trying to track shipping and logistics. Like that's absurd. Like it improves your customer relationships when they have a really streamlined system that's high trust, easy to use, gets them the confirmation, shipping confirmation and things they need. And so that's really kind of how I like to think about it, is that we've seen it actually improve customer caterer relationships with their clients because it puts them into this really clear, very low friction system that they trust, that they can rely on, that they get their confirmation. And it actually leaves more time to build that relationship because you're not spending 5, 10, 15 hours a week, just manually calculating random stuff that computers are going to be way better at doing anyway.
Right.
You can actually have more time to connect and build rapport with your clients. So
yeah, man, I resonate so much with the building a crazy spreadsheet that's inevitably going to break. I was doing that literally yesterday with this like crazy payroll spreadsheet that has like a Zap that pulls payroll data and fills in stuff. And I'm like, this is going to be good until it's not. And I'm just like already setting myself up like this is going to break. I just need this to be a program. So, but I think that's where, that you have something special when you create something out of necessity and living in this thing that a lot of other people are living in, and then that's when it's really easy to sell the product as well, because you've walked through this, especially the growth and scale side before we have, and I instantly thought about it, especially with FlashQuote's ability to kind of like track all of the resources that you have. I'm just like, you have to have that, especially being multi-city. Like it would seem impossible to run it without all that. But
yeah, for the equipment and repair tracking, like that's so important to be able to know which cart went out when and all of that. But I don't know. I'm actually super excited for you all to grow your catering program. Like I predict that in the next year, you could easily get to, I think, like 40, 50, 60K a month just from catering. Like,
let it be so, Lord.
Let it, like, I believe that when people, and we've seen some really, really incredible business growth from caterers. Like actually the caterer who we've helped. Now, I will say this caterer, he's based, I don't know if I want to share his personal info, but he's an absolute baller. He comes from real estate. He's only been in coffee catering probably 6 months since he started his cart. He comes from real estate, so he does have that sales background. But the caterers that we see really grow fast are the ones who are like on it. They are executing things quickly. Like speed of execution is such an important marker. And when I see people do that, the results are incredible. He's this particular caterer is about to hit within 6 months of starting, he's about to hit his first like 30K month. And we've really, been there to also, for new Flash Quotes customers, we end up spending so much time just helping them, consulting with them. Like you and I have had multiple calls, and like I didn't do that with you just because you're Ross from Valor. Like, we do that with tons of customers because those early conversations to get all this stuff right, we do a little bit of like, okay, website consulting. Here's what you need to change. This. Like this is what we've seen work. We didn't just do that with you. We do that with like a lot of Flash Quotes customers. That's why shout out to. That's why one of our Flash Quotes customers got us this. This is baller. This is maybe one of the best gifts that I've gotten in a long time. Like this full-on custom Flash Quotes jersey. My last name on the back, like so generous and so kind, and I was actually very, very touched by it. But I think he was so impacted by how much we've helped his business and helped him, and he's like in the coffee catering. He's not a nobody. He's incredible, but like in the coffee catering world, he's a nobody. I predict he's gonna keep growing, and you all are too. I think you're gonna see in the next year some really, really incredible stuff with the growth of Valor. So
how you're laying that out is kind of how we look at, wholesale. It's why wouldn't we spend time even with smaller accounts, because their success is directly tied to our success. Especially you guys, if every time someone makes a sale, you guys also get to reap the benefits of that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to do a website audit and whatnot? So I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
So if people want to get involved with Flash Quotes, how can they do that?
So go to our website, go to actually the Valor link. So flashquotes.com/Valor. Please sign up through there. Like
link below.
Yeah, link below, link all around. It's free to use, free to join on the basic tier, and we're so excited to share this. We've seen it really, really benefit a lot of coffee caterers, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, like we want to be on calls with you. If you have any questions, if you want to chat with me personally, like I'll, book a link, like book a call right into my calendar, book a Flash Quotes demo into my calendar. When you sign up for Flash Quotes, I'm like, okay, here's a link to book a 15-minute Flash Quotes, like Q&A, like troubleshooting. We want to be on calls with our Flash Quotes customers like once or twice a week to really make sure that they're successful, because really their success is our success. And so flashquotes.com/Valor, follow us on Instagram, FlashQuotesHQ. And yeah, I'd love to connect with you all, even just to talk business. Like I think about coffee catering and all of the associated things so much. I love talking about it, and happy to, chat with any of you if you have more questions. I feel like I feel like we could keep going for another hour and a half. Yeah. Maybe I'll be back, but I love this stuff. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your hospitality, these delicious coffees. You were very generous to give me a sick Valor hat. Yeah. And
also, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Okay. Because I have to squeeze some free consulting out of you.
Okay.
Before we get off the program.
That's what this podcast is really for.
Okay. I have two.
I love doing free consulting. I'm serious.
Two questions. The first one is about the operation of the cart itself.
Okay.
How did you land on single person events? Just one person working the cart? Because where we came from, and it didn't work, obviously, because we stopped focusing on catering, and Okay, so we would bring 3 people to these events, aka me, Riley, and Ethan, and.
Can you imagine? Can you all imagine with me getting them 3 at your event? Like those are special days. Those clients,
we crushed it, and that's why we did it, in part because those events went better.
Yeah.
But like we weren't paying ourselves, so we didn't have the mentality that you had, which is how do I make a business?
Yeah.
And I mean, in a way, it was giving exceptional product.
We wanted to give the same level of hospitality that we give in our cafes at our events.
Yeah.
And we did, like, and we would go through lines so fast.
Yeah.
Faster than our machine could handle. And so there was that. But then you have a completely different approach of single person events, collapsible cart.
Yeah.
Anyone can fit it in their sedan or what. So just tell me, like, how do you wrap your head around single person events, and for events that are larger than a single person can handle, how do you handle that?
Yeah, great question. I can tee us up for the next podcast, really the 5 stages of growing your coffee cart business.
Oh, yes.
And that kind of the logistical choices are very, very important. I'm glad you asked this question because people don't realize that early on their equipment choices are going to dictate their ability to grow and scale. That early equipment choices will enable you or they will hamstring your growth down the line. A lot of people may not consider that, like, the espresso machine you choose will cut your labor pool in half or not. I mean, GS3s are like probably one of the best possible single group machines money can buy. I personally don't recommend them for catering because they're very heavy and very awkward to carry and require long arms and a lot of strength. And then, like, to get it up on the countertop, you probably have to be tall. So there's some of these like weird logistical things of like, if you don't choose the right machine, you can't hire anyone that's like under 6 feet tall and, 160 pounds. So things like that. We made a lot of those mistakes. I did have a GS3. I still have a GS3, but I don't use it on any catering events. So things like choosing your machine, choosing your cart dimensions, choosing, like, back to my earlier point of like, okay, if someone has to do this task or multiple people, this task has to be done thousands of times. Like, how does it need to look? How much does each box weigh? How much does each single piece of equipment, what's the max weight of every single individual item that needs to be lifted or carried at any point throughout the event? Like, I made sure all of mine, other than the machine, which is maybe 50, 60 pounds, but it's got a really nice footprint. So small people, 5 feet tall, 100 pounds can like lift and carry our machine. Everything else is like 40 pounds, all like, so these sort of logistical concerns are super important. We've designed and built our own coffee cart from scratch. It's like laser cut, bent aluminum, riveted together. That's not accessible to everyone, but I still do really, really believe in a collapsible cart. Like from a catering, contracted catering perspective, if you're vending, you can have a trailer if you're doing huge festivals or whatever. But if you're not, please never buy a trailer. It's a terrible decision for like contracted coffee catering, because nobody, again, that Venn diagram, what barista do you know that can back up a trailer, hook up a trailer, has a vehicle that can haul one? So I'm a big fan of collapsible carts, of every single piece of equipment being something that one, small person can lift, carry, and transport. These are some of the things that unlocked our ability to go from 143 events in 2020 to over 3,000 in 2024.
What's the max amount of drinks one person can serve in an hour?
We say 50 drinks per barista per hour. And that actually was a really important, like that single versus double barista thing. There's trade-offs. There's trade-offs for that. Obviously, like if somebody no-shows or has an accident and doesn't, then we're in deeper water. The benefit of it is that we can people can hire us for less because our labor costs are half as much. So we say 50 drinks per barista per hour. Like from a catering perspective, if you're doing contracted catering, in my opinion, never serve 12-ounce hot drinks.
Yeah.
Your steam boilers can't handle it, and it will slow down your line, slow down your output. Like 8-ounce hot drinks on everything, never bigger. You could do 12-ounce cold, but yeah. So that's kind of our output. And I remember we used to have bigger carts. I mean, there's an entire graveyard of Goodhart's previous coffee cart iterations.
We're starting to get one as well.
They're piling up.
Yeah. It's a rite of passage. You've got to go through that to evolve it and find what works for you. But yeah, I remember thinking like, okay, do we go the double machine, double barista route, or do we go the single? And we ultimately decided, like, from a catering perspective, one barista, one cart always. That way, every barista always has their own pitcher rinser and grinder and machine, and they have their perfect little bar flow, and we can separate these carts too. Like, 2 baristas, 1 cart, you're only going to get 1 service location from like the client customer service perspective.
Yeah.
At Goodhart, like, because we always do 1 barista, 1 cart, even if they have 2 baristas, it's 2 carts, 2 machines, and they can go in different places, and it can there's some logistical benefits. But it's kind of just like, what trade-offs do you want to make in your business?
Right. Okay. And the second question I want to ask you is our conversion rates. So yeah, we did the lead intake form on our website. We got a lot of help with our SEO from Localize. Our leads are way higher than they were. But what are any tips you have for increasing booking rates, like getting those conversions?
Yeah. This is a super, super important one. So follow-up is huge. At Goodhart, we follow up with all leads. We're actually going to probably increase this, and we follow up with all leads 6 to 8 times over a 2-week period. We do call, text, email. Ideally, like my dream, well, we're beta testing like truly instant price quoting. We've been testing it for a long time. And so like when someone submits a quote at Goodhart, it's an instant price quote. They get texted 4 minutes later. Ideally, they get a call within 20 to 30 minutes. They get an email the next day, and then we kind of just increasingly space out the follow-ups, but it's still just more text, emails. And
is that all Zapier?
This is all actually through, we do, FlashQuotes does integrate with Zapier. And if you know what Zapier is, it's basically a software that can make all your softwares talk to each other. And so we integrate with Zapier. And so we do like send our leads from the FlashQuotes lead intake form into Zapier, then into our CRM, and that's where all of that, our customer relationship management tool. And now what we have heard from FlashQuotes users is they want a little bit more CRM, customer relationship management tool, like native to FlashQuotes, and we're actually building out those features right now to help with, email tracking, sending emails natively from FlashQuotes, automated follow-ups. We're launching actually in the next week or 2, like the click tracking, open tracking. So you can really see like, have people opened your quote? How many times have they viewed it? When have they viewed it? And that can help you really make those like targeted follow-ups.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But follow-up is so key. And I do just want to say, I have submitted over the years, dozens and dozens of quote requests to coffee caterers all around the country. Most of them, like, their service is amazing. Like the actual coffee cart's gorgeous. Their drinks are amazing. And their follow-up is terrible. They follow up maybe once or twice, if at all. And the reality is, and this almost goes back to the sales thing, right, Riley? What you were saying, that like we used to feel like sales is kind of icky. Like I don't even like the word. It makes me uncomfortable. But the reality is that people are very busy, distracted, addicted to social media, have families, have jobs, like, are getting dinged by Slack and email and whatever. They're everything so many times per day that if you're not following up, you're not admitting the reality of modern life, which is just high levels of distractibility. So my perspective and belief is that good follow-up is just good customer service. It's acknowledging how busy and distracted people are.
Especially because they were the ones that reached out to you.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's not even like pressure salesy. It's like, hey, would you still like to do this? Like, we're still here, you know, it's more of a hospitable, hey, just a reminder, like, you know, more of that tone instead of like, why haven't you, like, you got a book. Like they gave you permission to talk with them.
And that actually, so follow up, you have to be following up to be able to get those booking rates up. And what we really see is that people who have strong follow up, their booking rate is going to climb up to like 15 to 20%. And then once they're in year 2 or year 3 of their business and start to get that repeat customer word of mouth really strong, we start to see booking rates climb up to like 30, 35% in year 2 and 3. And so like we are actually starting to track this at Flash Quotes. So we know which of our customers to give like some more free consulting to is like, okay, their leads are good, their booking rate's low. We've got to step in and help them here with their follow-up. If their leads are low, we know that like, okay, we've got to help them with their SEO and help them with some of their conversion rate optimization stuff. And actually one really, really quick tip, both related to follow-up and web design, is the entire purpose of your website is to get someone to submit the lead intake form. That's for caterers. It's not to make yourself look super cool and whatever. It's not to have some high design that it's going to impress a designer. The entire purpose of your website as a coffee caterer is get them to submit the form so you have their contact info and you can start building a real relationship and communication with them. Yeah. And to do that, you need some very important tabs, header navigation tabs. You need a pricing tab, you need a menu tab, and you need a gallery tab in your header navigation. This is not just an opinion. This is like, we track all of this. Like I have these crazy click trackers and scroll trackers on my website. Time and again, we see like a huge percentage of customers. You can watch them go through the journey of like, okay, all right, I see the above the fold. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, how much does it cost? That's the people's first question. How much does this cost? And what do you think when you see a website like a plumber or some service business and there's no pricing tab? My mind goes to worst case. I can't afford this.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
I don't believe in giving pricing until after you collect contact info, but you must have a pricing tab to tell people how you price and just give them that comfort. Oh, it's service length, guest count, and destination. That's how we price. You have to tell people that, otherwise they get freaked out that you're going to be like insane. You have to have a menu you have to have menu and gallery because those are two things for coffee caterers that help convey the value of what you do. Because coffee catering is expensive, right? But the price is high, but the value is high. So by showing people your menu and your gallery, those are some of the quickest ways that you can start to convey the value of the incredible experience you're going to provide. So you need those things on your website, but that also ties into follow-up, which is that's how we follow up in a way that really adds value to the customer. Because again, even though we have everything on our website, people are distracted. They don't have time. They didn't actually go through everything. So in those follow-ups, we're asking them things like, is this your first time having a coffee cart? That's going to inform how we interact with them. Did you get a chance to see our full menu? Do you know everything that's included? Have you seen photos of our cart? We're following up in a way that's going to guide them through the journey and help them understand the value that we provide. And so it's not at all this sort of pushy sales thing. It's like, man, people like actually really appreciate it. They're like, no, I've never had a coffee cart. Like, amazing. We want to be here first. We want to grow the market. Like, we're experimenting with like, okay, if you've never, ever had a coffee cart, we're going to give you a little discount. We just want to get you through the door. We want you to have a coffee cart experience. We want to grow the market for everyone. So those are some of the things we do and some of the things we've learned along the way.
So I think we have to wrap with this one, but so all of that is your pre-booking customer journey. Yeah. What's your post event? You wrapped up the event, your journey from that point on, especially And I mean, obviously, if you do a wedding, you're probably not going to book another wedding for them.
Yeah, you never want to
soon.
book a second wedding if you can help.
Yeah, but especially, in terms, do you classify this? I guess this is two things. It's like, in your CRM, do you classify it as like corporate event, and then the corporate event, do you have a journey specifically for that to be like, 5 days later, hey, can you leave us a review? 10 days later, hey, book us monthly and we'll do this, this, and this. And,
we don't currently, what we always do is we always reach out the next day and ask, like, how was your service? How was your barista? That's a very, very, very important feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great book called Good to Great by Jim, I kind of forget his name. Anyway, he talks about kind of that red flag mechanism, that feedback loop. So if things are not going well, you can find out about it and fix it. And that's one of the most important reasons so we always, we want to get Google reviews. Actually, shout out to you all, because I just went to your cafe this morning and it had 795 reviews, 4.8 stars. Like, that's really, really incredible. I don't think I've ever seen a cafe with like 4.8. Usually the greatest cafes are like 4.67. But Google reviews are important. So we want to actually make sure they had an amazing experience. If they had problems, we want to figure out what those are, make it right, improve our systems. And so, yeah, that kind of post event care and check-in is very important. And yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
I'm walking away with a lot of things I'm going to tell Ross that he needs to do.
Gosh.
Well, luckily Ross
he's
and
doing the same. So
he's gonna crush it. You're gonna crush it. We're gonna be on a lot of calls together. We're gonna blow up the Valor catering program, and I'm excited to It's so fun for me to be part of the journey of these growing coffee carts. I mean, you all are like in many ways like an icon and someone we really all look up to because of how you have shared your journey and kind of been this pioneer and this voice and yeah, kind of a thought leader in the space. But I love being a part of the journey of coffee caterers to help them actually like make this become something that's viable. And I think right, that's a question in your mind. Is coffee catering viable? Mm-hmm. That was a question in my mind for so long too. And when I realized it was, like, okay, I'm going all in. And now I see that, like, wow, it's incredibly viable. The entire industry is blowing up. Like, we're now starting to see like coffee caterers go multi-city, where it's like, I don't know if there's a coffee caterer yet that's like, hit the 8-figure mark, but I honestly think in the next 5 years, you'll see the first like multi-city coffee caterer hitting like 8 figures in revenue.
Called Goodhart.
I mean, I don't know, but it's such an exciting time. I know there's so many coffee carts starting up. There's more competition than ever, but frankly, the coffee catering industry, it's still in its infancy.
Yeah.
And I love being a part of the journey. I hope you felt, like, it's good they're cutting me off because I would keep going.
The passion's real, for sure.
Thank you all for having me. I was really, honored to be here. I'm excited to be a part of growing, hopefully contributing and being a part of growing doing my part to just, help Valor's catering program grow. And again, thank you for all that you all have shared. I know you've been such an inspiration, and so many coffee catering companies look up to you. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be here. So
thanks, dude.
Thanks.
Loved having you.
We're hanging up. Bye-bye.